Welcome back. This is actually a continuation of the earlier video. In this video, you are going to understand that one error handling block can contain multiple error handlers. And also we'll understand about how to configure global error handler for your application. Okay, let's get started. So firstly, if you see this flow, get products by name flow, we are consuming a SOAP web service. I want to show you what will happen if I stop the SOAP web service. This web service consumer will get a connectivity error, is it? So I want you to observe what is the error type which we will be getting once I give a request. Then we will see how to handle specific error types. So let me start this application first. Okay, it got started. And if you see the SOAP web service is running, when it is running, if I give a request, I should get proper response now. Yep, I got the response. Now I'll go and stop the SOAP web service by pressing Ctrl C. Yes, the SOAP web service is stopped. Now if I give a request, let us see, I got this response which is nothing but error message. So here if you see, the exception occurred here. What is the exception type? Error type. Error type is WSC namespace cannot dispatch. Cannot dispatch is a name identifier and namespace is WSC web service consumer. Its parent is Mule any. So this is the error type which got propagated. So here we are having on error propagate. What it will do, it will just execute the logger and propagate it to the caller. In the caller again, here I am actually calling. Here also I have on error propagate. So the logger will be executed and it will be propagated to main flow. In the main flow there is no error handler. So the default error handler is executed, which will actually dump the stack trace on the console, terminate the flow. Let's see, stack trace is dumped, terminate the flow, and then the error, this listener will return error response, is it? So if you see here responses and error response, I have configured it already in earlier video to reply error.error type. So that's what I got, error.error type. Okay. Now let's assume that in a particular flow we are calling multiple web services. That means in this get products by name, let's assume that I am also consuming another SOAP web service. So I just drag and drop just to show you. I'll go to web service consumer. Let's assume that even I need to consume one more web service and another operation. Right. So let's assume that the other web service also is down. So this first one is consuming some first web service, second is consuming another web service. Assume that both of the web services are down. So what is the error message you will be getting? What is the error type? You can observe in this on error propagate. The error type will be same. WSC colon cannot dispatch. So in this error handler, can I really understand whether the exception came from here or here? No, right? Both of them will be throwing same error type. right? So we cannot really understand whether exception came from here or here, right? So what we can do is, right now I'll delete this web service consumer. What we can do is, in the component itself, web service consume component itself, we can map the standard error types to our own. So what we can do is, we can double click on consume component. In the error mapping block, you can see what I'll just delete this string out. In the error mapping block, I can add a new mapping for what I want to map, WSC colon connectivity, and what is my custom error. I'll give app namespace, and I'll say Siva error type. Let's say it's a custom error type. Okay, so it got added. Now, what I want to do is, I want to handle specific error type, Siva error type. Let me just copy paste exactly the error type here. Okay. Now, I want to handle Siva error type, especially in the error handling block. Actually, one error handling block can have multiple error handlers. So what I'll do is, I'll drag and drop one more. I will say on error continue. So on error continue, I want to be first, the order matters. I'll drag and drop it above. No, it's not coming. Again, I will try to drag and drop. Okay, better what I'll do is, I'll delete this and again drag and drop. Now it's always coming down. So what I will do is, I'll delete this on error propagate, and then I will again add on error propagate here. Yes. So in one error handling block, I have two handlers. So what I'm going to do is, here I'll add logger to both of them. In the first logger, I will write a log expression. Better, I will double click here. So in the first logger, I'll write inside on error continue error type is, I'll paste this. So actually what I want to do is, whenever error handling block contains two error handlers, we have to specify which error handler has to be executed when. So I'll double click on error continue. Here we can map for what all error types this has to be mapped. So you can search here. So see here, app colon Siva error type is listed. Data sense is working, right? So here I mapped app colon Siva error type, and even not only that type, you can map this on error continue to be executed based on some conditions. Okay, what you can do is, you can write some condition like error dot error message is equals to, you can just write whatever conditions which will evaluate to true or false. So what condition to write in this when? You'll get a clear idea. Better always during development keep a debug point here and see what all objects are available in the debug mode when the control is inside on error continue, right, inside here. So then you will get an idea about what else conditions you can write here in the when. Okay, so now I have written this. See, you can see on error continue here, the type is appearing as Siva error type, and in this logger I'll just write inside on error propagate. Now I want this on error propagate to be mapped for any of the error types. Actually I didn't specify the type here. If I don't specify type, by default it maps to any. I need not even specify any. Any, if you know, it's a parent for all the error types, is it? Mule colon any. So I have configured both of them, and what I will do is I will try to drag and drop set payload here in on error continue, and here in the payload I will write error dot error type. Okay, and the MIME type of this I know that it is application slash JSON. Okay, so now I will run this. Okay, it's already existing, it's already running, so stop it and then I will run for clarity. Okay, it got deployed. Let me give a request now. I'll observe the console. Here it is specifying WC colon dispatch. Let me check here actually. Loggers inside on error propagate. Inside validate flow on error propagate. Oh, actually, what is the log I wrote here? Oh, it is coming as oh, this is getting executed, is it? Inside on error propagate got executed. But actually, did I map it exactly here? Error mapping WC colon connectivity. Actually, the error was WC colon cannot dispatch. Oh, was it a different error which I have to map actually? Let me give a debug. I'll try debug and see what is happening here. Or I think I missed. I'll add one more thing also as of now. WC colon cannot dispatch. I guess this was the error type. I'll say app colon Siva cannot dispatch my own type. So I map to okay. What I'll do is I'll copy this and here in on error continue I will write types as this one also, both the types. Okay, I saved it and hopefully this application should restart. I'll save it again. This should restart. Okay, restarted. Now let me clear. Okay, I cleared it. Okay, I'll give a request again. Yep, now I got some junk value. That's okay. Here, let me see the logs. Yeah, now I got inside on error continue. Whatever I have written the logs. Okay, and the payload. Since I made it as JSON error type, maybe I'll just check here in the response. Actually, some messages given here. Error type Siva cannot dispatch. The error was not converted to JSON properly. Maybe I need to write the expression properly. Is it? I got an object actually. Error type implementation. Something like that. Okay. No issues. But you saw that this got executed, is it? Yes. So now I wanted actually to understand. I wanted you to understand that in error handling block we can have multiple error handlers. But whenever you are having multiple error handlers, you have to tell which first error handler has to be executed when, for what error types, and you can even specify a when condition. So like that we can have n number of error handlers in error handling block. We can map them by specifying the appropriate types and also conditions. And the last handler need not have any type specified. By default, if you don't specify the type, it is any mule namespace any. Okay, that is what I want you to understand. Now, I want to configure a global error handler. This error handler is only for this particular flow. Every flow is having its own error handler. Now, I want to configure a global error handler. So what I can do is simply in the core I have error handler. I'll drag and drop it outside of all the flows. So an error handler which is outside of all the flows is global. So what I can do is I'll try to drag and drop this on error continue inside this global handler. Yes, and on error propagate also inside this. Yes. So I have configured error handler globally. Now what I can do is I can go to global elements, create, under configuration I can configure default error handler. I want to make my global handler as default. I specified that this is a default handler. So if you see the XML here, this is a global error handler, and you can observe that configuration tag here, default error handler ref is equals to this error handler. Okay, now you observe that my get products by name is not having any error handler, but this validate and transform is having one error handler. Since I didn't configure any error handler here in the get products by name, I expect that this should be executed. So let me check, did it restart? Yeah, redeployment is done. Or for clarity, I'll stop and start it, no problem. I'm stopping it. Okay, it started, and now if I give the same request, I should get the same response, right? So we understood about how to configure default error handler, right? There is no exception handling block here. Automatically it got executed. Okay. Now an important part for certification. This question, now whatever I'm going to talk about may come in certification if you're planning for certification. So what I will do is let me drag and drop one more on error propagate in the error handling block of get products by name. And then I will just drag and drop one logger to it. And for this logger, I'm going to write here inside on error propagate of get products by name. Okay. On error propagate. So I expect that this is executed and it will be propagated. Right? And it should be propagated. So let us see now what will happen. Do I expect this also to be executed? Let us see. I guess it should have restarted since I saved. Okay, so I'll give a request now. So I got it. Let me actually see the console. In the console, what are all the logs which I can observe? Inside on error propagate of get products by name. And then since there is an error handler in this get products by name, the default was not executed, right? The default was not executed. But did I configure some condition here for our error propagate? No. As of now, intentionally, I will specify the type as, let's say, bad request. Okay. So this error handler is now mapping only bad request. Actually, the error which is coming is cannot dispatch. Now this is having bad request. So this will not map. So since this does not map, do you expect the global one to be executed? Let us see. I guess it should have restarted, but for clarity, I will restart it. Stopping it first. Then I start. Okay, it started. Let me give a request. Yeah. Now I'm seeing that this is the response, same response I got. Let me check here on the console. Do I see a logger from? Do I see a logger from this one? No, right? This logger is not printed, so it is not matched. So what happened when exception came? There is no error handling, which is matching here, right? And since we have an error handler, will the default error handler be executed? No. It will propagate to the caller. Here what we are doing, we are again logging this by writing invalidate and transform, and we are propagating it again. Again it goes here, it gets propagated. For the main flow, there is no handler at all. There is no handler at all. So the default got executed. That's why we are seeing the output. Is it? So you can see on the logger, you saw the log from validated in the validated flow, and this is again the log from the global error handler. Now the important thing I want to discuss here is I will actually have same thing on error propagate. Okay, anyway, I'll drag and drop another in the main flow quickly. On error propagate on the main flow, and quickly I'll drag and drop a logger, and here I'm going to write in main flow on error propagate. Okay, so now when the control comes to main flow, I am handling it, but here for this I will write some condition which is not matching. So I'll write the type as something like bad request, which is not valid, right? So the exception comes to main flow, but I have an error handler which is not matching. So do you think this one will get executed? No. So let us see what will happen. Again, I've saved it and I'll give a request now. It got restarted. I'll clear the console and then I'll give a request. Yep, this I got. Siva cannot dispatch, but let us see on the logs. What is executed? Only invalidate flow I can see. I cannot see the log from the global error handler. So what I want you to understand for certification, this is a question. If in your flow, if you have an error handler which is even not matching anything, the default one will not get executed. Okay, I will explain you about various scenarios. Welcome back. In earlier video, you understood about global error handler. Applications global error handler. I wrote my own error handler global, and then I made this as default global handler by going to global elements. In the configuration, I refer to this global handler, global error handler as default. So my global handler became the default. In earlier video at the last, I was telling that in your flow, if you're having an error handler which is not even matching, actually the error type which is propagated here is my own error type, right? So my one error type is propagated. App:/Siva error type is propagated. There is no error handler for that particular error, but still there is one error handler, right? So in this case, the application's default global handler is not executed. The actual default handler of Mule's default handler is executed. Let me show you with presentation. Just try to understand. If a flow has an error handler, the error is handled by the first error scope whose condition evaluates to true. So my main flow is having an error handler, but is it having error handler, error scope which is matching the condition, the error type? No. So none of them is executed, right? So if no scope conditions are true, the error is handled by Mule's default error handler, not any scope in applications global handler. This is important for certification. Your applications global handler will not be executed. Mule's default error handler will get executed. So in this case, actually, when I gave a request, this web service consumer is not able to make a connection. So what this is doing, it is mapping this WC cannot dispatch to app:/Siva cannot dispatch. So this is the error type which is propagated. So is there error handler? No. It will come to validate and transform. It will execute and it will get propagated here. So when it got propagated, for my main flow, there is an error handler. There is an error handler, but no condition is not matching. So this error scope is not mapped. So in this case, what will happen? Will the global default handler is executed? No. If this was executed, here the logger, whatever I have written inside on error continue, that should have been seen. That should have been seen, but did I see it? No. Only I saw the logger in validate flow. I didn't see this logger. That means the application's default handler was not executed, but Mule's default error handler got executed. So remember. So since Mule's default handler got executed, it propagates the error up, right? Where there may be many handlers. So since Mule default handler got executed, I was able to see this response type app:/Siva cannot dispatch, right? So keep this in mind. This is one interesting thing which can appear in certification. If a flow does not have error handler, any error handler at all, so that means if I remove this error handler for my main flow, it does not have any error handler. So now the error propagates and now the application's default error handler will be executed. So if a flow does not have an error handler, the error is handled by a scope in application's default error handler, right? Okay, so this is one point I want you to understand clearly. Yep, see the same thing I'm describing using the diagrams. See here, this is a main flow. Here error occurs, there is no error handler. And application's default handler is not having any matching scope. This is the scenario. So what will happen? Error is thrown. And there is no application's default handler with matching scope. So Mule's default error handler got executed. Error is thrown. And the HTTP listener will return error response. This is scenario 1. Scenario 2. So in my main flow, there is no error handler, but the application default handler has a matching scope. So what happens when error occurs here? Application's default handler got executed and the error is rethrown. Then the HTTP listener will return either success or error. When it will return success, can you guess? In the default error handler, application specific default handler, if you're handling using on error continue, then you will see success. In the default error handler, if you're handling using on error propagate, then the error will be propagated, so error will be shown, right? So in the default error handler, if you have used on error continue, then success will be returned by the listener. If you have used on error propagate, then error response might be returned. Okay. So next scenario. See, in the calling flow, there are error handlers, error scopes with nothing matching. So in your flow, there are scopes. This error handler which is having some scopes. Now, as I told you, if the error gets thrown, the application's default handler will not be executed. The Mule's default handler got executed and error response is returned. Then last one. Here in my calling flow, there are error scopes with no matching and application's default error with matching scope. Again, will this be executed? No. The default handler only will be executed. These are the various scenarios which I want to understand. Then finally I want to tell you how to throw your own exceptions. So what I will do is right now in the main flow I'm not handling, so it will come here to the default handler. Now here what I can do is I can raise my own error by just dragging and dropping raise error, and here what's the type? I will say type is equals to app colon my own error type. Siva's own error type. So by using raise error, I can actually raise my own error type. So I will stop this application and then restart it. Okay. So now I'll give a request to same URL. Let us see what the response I'll be getting. Siva's own error type. Is it? The description of this. So if I see the console, you can see in the error message which is logged actually my own error type, which is raised again at the end, and you can see the error type which is logged as actually this is the log message present in the global handler, right? And this error, you can see Siva's own error type is raised. Is it? So in the global handler, actually what I have written, I have written this one. Did I see this one inside on error continue? Yes, I saw. Yes, right? So the default handler got executed and you raised your own error type. This is shown, right? So now you understood how to raise your own error types by using raise error. That's all I want to talk about error handling in Mule 4. Okay, what you can do is now in my GitHub in day 18, you can go inside day 18 of my GitHub. There's a document error handling.
Just open this and follow the instructions and complete this exercise before you go to the next topic. Make sure that you complete this exercise before you go to next topic. Practice is very important. See you in next lecture.